So acknowledge the Wadawurrung people and all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders who are here this evening. Just reminding that this meeting is being live streamed, so it's being broadcast on the internet, and the recording of the meeting will be published on Council's website. Just before moving into more formal parts of the meeting, I'd just like to acknowledge the passing of former Councillor Brian Fowler, who many people in Geelong know. Brian served as a Mayor of Geelong from 1989 till 1991, and we pass on our sincerest condolences to his family and loved ones during this time. So, first of all, apologies. We don't have any formal apologies, but we do have a number of requests for leave of absence to consider this evening. The first one is a leave of absence be granted to Councillor Eddie Contell for the dates 26th of May 2025 until 29 May 2025 inclusive. So can I have a mover, Councillor Sullivan, a seconder, Councillor Aiken. So all those in favour? And that's carried. And then second, leave of absence be granted to Councillor Wilkinson for the dates 2nd of July 2025 till 21 July 2025 inclusive. Can I have a mover, Councillor Story, and a seconder, Councillor Nelson? So all those in favour? And that's carried. So any declarations of conflicts of interest this evening? Councillor Aiken.
Yes, Mr Mayor. Item number 4.1, service review confidential. I have a conflict of interest because I have a close family member who's employed in that area, Mr Mayor.
Righto, thank you. So we'll note that, and you'll step out of that when that matter comes up. Next, confirmations of the minutes. May I have someone move and second to confirm the minutes of the meeting that was held on the 22nd of April. Councillor Cadwell moves and Councillor Nelson second. So all those in favour? And anyone against? So that's carried. So next we move into public question time. The questions have been submitted, and we have now time allocated. I'll call out the names as submitted in chronological order, and we'll hear from the people who have got the questions to ask. We will provide answers this evening and also file answers on our website, and then also in writing within 7 days. So the first one's Regan is. Did someone say she wasn't coming tonight? I don't think Regan was coming this evening. So we'll just note that question. The second one was Kirsten Smith. If Kirsten Smith is in the room. No. The third question, Sienna Lazic. Sienna Lazic. No. And then next question, Jamie Foreman. Jamie, if you're there. Yes, if you have a question, please.
Yes, I live in Street 7, Merrill. Thank you. I live in a small laneway off Ryrie Street, 7 Merrill Lane in Geelong, which is also lot 2 of 331 Ryrie Street. I have applied for a parking permit there and have been advised that I'm not eligible because I do not have restricted parking in my laneway, but I don't have any parking in the laneway, which means I can't park off-street anywhere. And I'm just curious as to how that actually meets the intention of the parking policy. I understand what the parking policy is. I just don't think it meets all scenarios that haven't been considered. For example, it says that residents can enjoy reasonable opportunities for residential parking while preserving parking access for other road users, but you haven't provided me with any reasonable opportunities. It means that car parks 20 metres away I can't use, even though someone down the street 500 metres away could use those parks. It just puts us in a difficult situation.
Thank you, Mr. Foreman. I'll ask the Executive Director for City Life, Anthony Basford, if you could please respond.
Thanks for the question, Jamie. Appreciate parking is always at a premium in the city. You've referred to the residential parking permit policy, which is what's used by the city to allocate residential parking permits, and that is based on parking zones that have time-restricted parking. Under the policy, residents are only eligible for permit if their street has timed parking restrictions of 2 hours or more, and you've obviously, in your introduction, indicated that it doesn't. It sounds like you've reviewed the policy previously on the site. If there should be new information that we need to consider, we're happy to certainly do that. And you can resubmit your application to the city to be considered by a panel. So it's not just a single person that makes a decision in isolation. It's actually put to a panel that actually looks at all the issues that you've raised in terms of the parking request.
Yeah, look, I think the issue is they will just make a decision according to the current parking policy, but I think the current wording of the policy just doesn't provide a reasonable outcome for some people, such as myself. There are other people, for example, who live right on the edge of the parking permit area where you've got free car parks that are competing for 5,000 staff working at the hospital there, who are also unfairly disadvantaged by the current terms of the parking policy. I think the policy itself needs to be reviewed.
I'll just hold you up there, but we will provide you with a written response as well. But it's not for debate tonight. So thank you for your question. Thank you. Next question was from Marg Burke. If Marg is in the room. Yep, Marg.
Unable to attend, so I'm attending on behalf of One Fire Reconciliation Group, Wendy East.
You are Marg Burke? You are Marg Burke?
No, she's unable to attend, but she was asking a question on behalf of One Fire Reconciliation Group, and I'm also a member of that group. So I'm asking her question.
We have received her question, but okay, I'll give you some leniency because I don't know that she has given you consent. I don't know any of that, but anyway, as long as you stick to the question in front of us, they'll be fine. Okay?
And I've attended every council meeting this year with Marg. The two of us have sat here and asked questions. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians, the Wadawurrung people of the land that we are on tonight. I would like to pay my respects to elders past and present and extend my respect to any First Nations people here tonight. One Fire Reconciliation Group is pleased to be participating in several strong local First Nations self-determined activities this week for National Reconciliation Week. The theme for this year, Bridging Now to Next, calls on all Australians to step forward together to look ahead and continue the push forward as past lessons guide us. On Sunday, May 25th, many First Nations people, traditional owners and non-Indigenous Geelong residents joined together to celebrate First Nations culture in Johnson Park. Local people have been gathering for 16 years for Rec in the Park. We, as in One Fire, would appreciate hearing from each of you as representatives of your local communities about what you think about reconciliation and how we can step forward together.
Right, thank you. I'll first of all refer to Executive Director Anthony Basford, if there's anything you have to say initially.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you for the question about the significance of National Reconciliation Week and the role that we all play when it comes to reconciliation. The city was certainly very proud and pleased to be able to provide funds to support that event at Johnson Park on Sunday. As you stated, this year's theme is Bridging New to Next, and the City is undertaking a number of practical initiatives to support reconciliation, because we know what reconciliation is about, what we are doing, not what Aboriginal people are doing. So we are doing some things internally to support Reconciliation Week. The councillors are available through many channels to talk to you about reconciliation, including the meet and greet sessions, which are held before council meetings. And I would encourage you to attend there to ask the question specifically of the councillors so that they can talk to you about their thoughts. Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you for your question. So next question, Timothy Matthews. Sorry?
Could I just answer the question, respond to the question?
We'd be here all night if we start.
I just want to say a huge thank you to One Fire, to Kitty, to Wadawurrung traditional owners and to Wadawurrung Co-op and all mob who were involved in reconciliation in the park on Sunday. I attended with fellow councillors, and we will continue to show up and we will continue to work alongside our local mob in the road to reconciliation.
Sorry, if I can just comment as well. You can go back to your seat though, that's fine. For me, reconciliation is also walking forward towards treaty. We went to a treaty update on Friday afternoon. The state government provided an update on the work that the government is doing to walk towards treaty. I've also had the really great privilege of learning from Auntie Geraldine in the first People's Assembly and the work that has been undertaken by First Nations people to get to a point of negotiation. And one of the things that they were talking about on Friday was not once we get the state treaty, walking towards local treaties with local groups. And that's something I'm absolutely committed to supporting as we walk towards reconciliation.
Councillors. Next question, Timothy Matthews.
Thank you all for your time. I wish to present a question. I received an email from James Sturton, Executive Director, City Infrastructure, detailing answers to a number of questions I had regarding the Duro Street Geelong Resource Recovery Centre. Can James or a representative please expand on those email answers? I found them less than clear. I found that what I would have thought was something as serious as this, the answers were just perfunctory. We know the three tenets of council's rates, roads, rubbish, infrastructure. How can we fail so badly when it comes to rubbish? It's just disgusting. We're having fly tipping all over Geelong now. We've got oil, we've got tyres, all these resources that people used to take to this centre are now just being dumped in the environment. We talk about respect to the elders. I had two Aboriginal sisters and an Aboriginal brother, and I look at what we're doing to this land and it is disgusting. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I'll ask the acting executive director. Sorry,
can I get a response to it? I'm actually asking for.
So I'm just about to invite acting executive director Sean Nuttall. If you could give an initial response, and then you'll get another response in writing as well.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Excuse me. Thanks for your question, Timothy. So just with regards to your query around the Duro Street and the current.
Here, can you mic up a bit better?
How's that?
Thank you.
Is that better?
Thank you.
Hi, thanks for your question, Timothy. So just noting there's a bit in that conversation, but with respect to the question that you raised around the Duro Street and the current state of play.
Yep.
So as you're aware, we are currently investigating that site. When that site is complete, or when the investigation is complete, we anticipate being able to speak more clearly in relation to the next steps. We do understand and appreciate the community's concerns and equally your concerns in relation to this period. And we are committed to being open and transparent and sharing the information as soon as it becomes available. We anticipate being in that position in the coming 6 weeks.
So you say it's an infrastructure issue, but That's a myriad of things. I worked 40 years in providing and maintaining infrastructure for state government. As I said, I can't even understand what you're talking about. Are we talking about, is it an OH&S issue?
Just hold you up. We can't debate it, but what I can assure you is that we all want that facility open as soon as possible. I can assure you it's not closed
Yeah,
for
but I just can't
any reason
understand
other than OHS issues, and we can't take it any further tonight, but we will respond. But trust me, I want it open as fast as it possibly can be open, as much as you.
True governance being conducted in council, that facility would not have closed.
Well, things happen. We've seen that sort of situation. It does. It does. We see it at every level of government. Next question, Brian and Jill Gollard. Brian and Jill Gollard, not here. Anne Preston.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I watched the last council meeting online. Councillor Aitken noted that he felt ill-informed and rushed as a councillor with regards to the draft budget, as details had only been provided to him and I assume the other councillors on the Thursday before the meeting. He said for him to have the opportunity to look over it over Easter was not acceptable for the size of the budget and the responsibility that an individual has as a councillor. For the general public, the agenda for the council meeting is only uploaded to the council website shortly before close of business on the Friday prior to the meeting. I also believe this is unreasonable, as questions for public question time need to be lodged by 12 noon on the day prior to the meeting to be assured you can ask your question. This means that we only have approximately 4.5 business hours to be able to read the agenda and formulate any questions we may have. Will Council make the agenda available to the public no later than 10 a.m. on the Friday morning, please? Or, I'd just like to add, I watched a council meeting online last night and they actually had the cut-off time as midday on the day of the meeting. That might be an alternative.
Well, I'll invite the Executive Director, Troy Edwards, to make a comment, and then we'll move to your next question.
Thanks for your question, Mrs Preston. So the council agenda publishing timeline is determined by council's governance rules, which are scheduled for review later this year. The publishing time of Friday afternoon allows sufficient time for last-minute changes, such as the inclusion of notices of motion. Your feedback will be considered as part of our review process. And it's worth noting that questions are not limited to items listed on the agenda and may be submitted up to a month in advance of the council meeting.
Second question.
Council encourages all community members to have your say on projects of interest. On the projects page, it's noted to stay informed on this project, click on the plus follow button in the banner. From there, you're required to register and are advised to please sign up to follow this project and receive email updates. I've received the confirmation email to say I'm following particular projects. 3 projects that I've followed from the start include the Neighbourhood Amenity Local Law Review. I found out 3 days after the council meeting that the local law had been adopted when I looked at the minutes online and not by being kept informed by email. Considering I'd put in 2 submissions, I thought that was pretty poor. High Street Belmont proposed pedestrian crossing. The pedestrian crossing in Belmont have been completed in the last week or so. I haven't received any updates at all on that project. Digital rates, easy access, better experience. When I signed up to follow this project on the 14th of May, the survey wasn't going to be live until the 21st of May. I've not received an email to say the survey is now available. Could you please confirm how many people have registered to follow these 3 projects? How many emails were meant to go out for each of those projects? Why haven't I received any updates to keep me informed of any of these projects that I follow? And is anyone being sent any updates on any projects at all?
Thank you for the question. I'll go back to Executive Director Troy Edwards for a response, please.
So thanks again, Mrs Preston, and we certainly value your contribution and the communities to many of our projects through Have Your Say and the other engagement programs that we run. We certainly aim to keep followers informed during the engagement phase of projects with updates as an important part of our communications approach. This can include media releases, social media, letterbox drops, council agendas and minutes. In response to the specific projects you have mentioned, I can update you that on the Neighbourhood Amenity Local Law Review, we had an update posted and email sent to followers on the 4th of September 2024 after Council adopted the new local law on the 27th of August. There was no Have Your Say communication prior to that meeting. In terms of High Street Belmont and the proposed pedestrian crossings, the latest update was sent to followers on 16th of September 2024 with an engagement summary. Funding and construction progressed more quickly than expected, with the crossings now complete, and the Have Your Say project page has been updated. And in terms of the digital rates engagement, the project has experienced a delay in launching the survey. It is expected to go live this week and followers will be notified by email. As part of the upcoming review of our community engagement policy, we'll now include the specific question about how and when people expect to receive updates through the project off the back of your contributions.
Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. Very good. The next question, Joanna Duncan. Joanna Duncan? No? Oh, not attending. Gary Oranyuk? Gary Oranyuk? No. Next question, Jamie Jeffrey.
Good evening, Mayor and councillors. I trust you're all well, especially you, Councillor Sullivan. Great. I have two questions. The first one is funding for the Avalon Weapons Expo was not up for discussion during last year's budget process, to my knowledge, nor is it up for discussion again this year. How does this decision get made, by whom, and why is it not up for public discussion and debate?
I could invite Executive Director for Placemaking Tenille Bradley to make a comment.
Big question, Jamie. And thank you for engaging in the community budget process. The Avalon International Air Show is held every 2 years. With council support for the 2025 event was committed through a long-standing sponsorship agreement which was signed in 2018. The budget allocation for the 2025 event is detailed in the FY 24-25 year budget. As the airshow will not be held in 2026, there is no allocation of funds in the 25-26 budget. While the strategic decision to support the Avalon Airshow may be a long-standing decision due to its economic significance, the funding allocated to it is an integral part of the annual budget, which undergoes a prescribed public consultation process. This process provides ample opportunity for the community to review, understand and provide feedback on all proposed expenditures, including those related to major events. Council is obligated to thoroughly consider all feedback received from the community before finalising the annual budget.
Thanks, Tenille.
If you could ask a second question then. Thank you.
Can I just clarify, does that mean that it was part of the budget process last year and will be again next year?
We're honouring our existing agreement, 5-year agreement that was signed in 2018.
5 years, so it expired in 2023?
5 years of events, which as the events are held every second year, it's 10 years in total.
Thank you for clarifying. My second question. Council is proposing to reduce the budget for in-home aged care services by over 1/3. It is also proposing to reduce the budget for our much-loved celebration of diversity, the Paco Festa. At the same time, Council is proposing to increase the budget for the Cadell Evans bike race and continue funding the Geelong Cats and the Avalon Weapons Expo. How can Council possibly justify reducing a critical community service and an event that promotes social cohesion whilst funding an AFL club that already has plenty of money and the capacity to generate greater income, a major sporting event that already has plenty of sponsorship money and will go ahead regardless, and a weapons expo that the massively profitable arms companies can easily fund themselves?
So I'll refer again to the Executive Director for Placemaking, Tennille Bradley. Thank you, Tennille.
At the time of this response, it's important to note that a decision on council's aged care, council's role in aged care hasn't yet been made, and it's being discussed tonight. So it's not my place to answer that particular question. In regards to major events, as Paco Festa, the Cadell Evans Great Ocean Road Race, and the Geelong Cats Partnership, they all play a vital role in the region's visitor economy, cultural life, and our national profile. These events attract significant visitation, deliver significant economic returns, and promote Geelong as a vibrant and inclusive city. Funding for these initiatives is assessed on strategic value, including economic impact, tourism appeal, and community benefit. Council does remain committed to supporting a diverse range of services, events, and values community input in shaping these priorities.
Tennille, thank you, Jamie, for your questions.
It's the non-answer.
Move now into petitions. We have 2 petitions tonight. First, I'll invite Callum Whitehead to speak on behalf of the residents in tabling the petition relating to Leopold Cricket Club practice facility upgrade. So, Mr. Whitehead.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name's Cal. I represent the Leopold Cricket Club. I'm here in support of the petition we have formally submitted to Council requesting the refurbishment of our practice nets at the Leopold Memorial Reserve. I want to acknowledge the city's, the state and the federal government's significant investment in the redevelopment of the Shed Memorial Reserve Precinct. The improved open space, upgraded pavilion and supporting infrastructure have been an incredible boost to the local sporting community, and we're generally grateful to be part of that space. However, while these works have delivered broad community benefits, no upgrades have been made to cricket-specific infrastructure, most notably our ageing and increasingly unsafe practice nets. Our nets are in poor condition. They pose safety risks, they've been repeatedly vandalised, and they simply no longer meet the needs of our growing and inclusive club. Upgrading them is not just about modernising facilities, it's about protecting our players, encouraging participation and providing a safe, structured environment to develop skills. This season, the Leopold Cricket Club is home to 62 senior players, 36 junior players and a record number of 68 children participating in our Woolworths Blasters program. It's the most we've ever had. So we're also working actively towards relaunching our women's team, another step forward in ensuring inclusive cricket pathways on the Balyang. It's probably important to note that the Leopold Cricket Club is the only turf cricket club on the Balyang, and we are striving to be the destination club for junior and senior cricketers by providing a launch pad for their cricketing aspirations. Council support for the redevelopment of our practice nets would have a direct, tangible impact, not only on skill development and safety, but on the wider community's ability to access quality sporting infrastructure. Our petition has received close to 100 signatures, reflecting strong local support and a shared belief that it is an urgent and necessary upgrade. We understand Council faces competing priorities, but this is a modest request with a significant community return. We're not asking for more than we need, we're simply asking for safe, functional and modern facilities that reflect the level of participation, growth and aspiration within our club. We hope you'll support our petition and our petition before you and help us building a strong, inclusive and thriving cricket club in Leopold. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Whitehead. So consider that petition tabled.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Selden.
Thank you. I'd like to just thank Callum and other representatives from the Leopold Cricket Club who are here tonight. The Leopold Cricket Club is a vital part of Memorial Reserve, and the Memorial Reserve is a special place because there's other users such as the Footy Club, Netball Club, Scouts, tennis and other groups as well. And whilst these other groups have been the recipient of generous federal, state and council funding, the cricket club's training facilities have not kept pace. It is something that desperately needs attention to, and Callum's been great at advocating for the club and all of its members, and its current pace of growth really needs to be addressed by council. So happy to have my support to the petition. Thank you, Callum.
Councillor Sullivan. Thank you. We now move to the second petition. I now invite Troy Freeman to speak on behalf of residents in tabling the petition in relation to Save the Balyang Par 3 golf course. Is that Mr. Freeman?
Good evening, councillors. Thank you for the time tonight. So, as you're probably aware, I'm here petitioning in response to council's plans to lease and redevelop the Balyang Par 3 golf course. Some of the suggestions that came out for the lease, which pretty much tabled an idea of a driving range, are completely in opposition to what we want down there. There's a lot of children, there's a lot of elderly people, there's national servicemen that play down there. That facility is really unique. It's one of two in Victoria, one of two pitch and putt courses in Victoria, 18-hole pitch and putt courses, and it's Geelong's only pitch and putt course. So that course is critical for a lot of people that go down there for exercise, social, mental wellbeing, and if it were to be converted into a driving range, they'd be left with nowhere else to go. So I'm really pleading for you guys to look at who actually goes down there, what the facility is used for, and save it for those people. A driving range makes no sense. If you consider that the surrounding golf courses, namely Barwon Valley Golf Course, Queen's Park, Geelong Golf Club, they've all got driving range and practice facilities. I know there's a suggestion of building something similar to Kerr Lewis, but if they want to build something like that, build it at an existing golf course where there's room to do so, and upgrade those facilities in place of ruining the golf course that is Balyang Par 3.
Thank you, Troy. So we'll consider that petition tabled. Thank you. All right, so that concludes the petitions. We now move to section 2. And the first item is the Community Vision and Draft Council Plan 2025. So I have a mover, Councillor Wilkinson, and seconder, Councillor Sinclair. Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you, Mayor. This report recommends Council endorse the Draft Council Plan 2025-2029, so opening it for community consultation. And just like the budget, it is really important that we get community feedback. It is probably the most important document that Council creates. It really sort of shapes the way that we work within Council and our decision making in terms of strategic direction. So advancing outcomes for a thriving Greater Geelong, that's the new strategic direction. There are 6 draft objectives relating to infrastructure, healthy and equitable community outcomes, revitalisation and growth of economic precincts, heritage and cultural identity, natural environment and integrity, financial stewardship and meaningful community engagement. So the document follows our Community Plan 2021-2025 and outlines the strategic direction for the city and objectives aiming at advancing community outcomes for a thriving Greater Geelong.
Councillor Wilkinson, Councillor Story. Oh, sorry, Councillor Sinclair. Sorry.
Okay, I'll take the compliment. So each of the councillors have participated in the community plan development, as well as the broader community through the Have Your Say page and some previous consultation. So everyone will have different initiatives that speak to them. For me, we've got a number of strategic objectives, 6 strategic objectives, so I might just call out something that really speaks to me in each of those. So core and critical infrastructure. Social and affordable housing will sit under this plan, or under this pillar of the plan, and we've got, there's probably what I should have called out for first. So this is a really broad, overarching document, and there's a number of really detailed action plans and strategies that sit underneath this. And for me, housing is really key in that core and critical infrastructure section. Healthy and caring communities. So this is making sure that the services that we provide are accessible and inclusive. Gender will sit under this pillar as well. Economic development. We've had a lot of conversations as a councillor group, making sure that this isn't just sitting in the CBD, that there's economic opportunities throughout our regions to build the suburbs as well as our CBD. Heritage and culture, so this covers a very broad range of initiatives, so arts, culture, music, events, design, and First Nations and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture sits here as well. Environment and circular economy, really looking forward to seeing us work towards net zero. And governance and integrity is a pillar, so really bringing that up as a real key focus for the organisation.
Councillor Sinclair. Any other councillor? Councillor Aiken.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I think that's better. I can hear myself as well too now. Look, this document actually is probably one of the most significant documents that a council actually has, and the community has an opportunity to put input through. A budget actually shows how we're spending the community's money. The city plan actually shows you how we're going to plan to spend the community's money. And this document actually is listing the next 4 years of how we intend to plan to spend your money. And that's why it's really important that we do get community feedback on this particular document. And I really want to challenge the community to have a look at this document as well too, because for me personally, I think we have to elevate equity higher in this city plan for the next 4 years, but we're not going to be able to do that unless there's community feedback that comes back to us to tell us that we do have to have a greater equity lens on how we're allocating our funding priorities in Geelong, how we're developing and delivering our service areas with an equity lens, and also how we're developing our strategic plans with an equity lens. It still saddens me in Geelong that we're an extremely prosperous community, but we have significant entrenched poverty and disadvantage in Geelong. And I want to actually see for the next 4 years in Geelong that the council attempts to try to target those areas and actually change that and actually take everybody that it can in this prosperous and beautiful and fantastic place that we call Geelong. And it's the city plan, how we can have an opportunity to be able to do that as councillors. So I hope the community reads the plan and actually strongly puts in its views as well too about how it actually wants council to plan spending its money for the next 4 years, but importantly, how we're going to take those people that are disadvantaged and living in poverty in Geelong and improve their lives significantly. It is not acceptable, and I challenge anybody in Geelong, it is not acceptable that the Norlane community is recognised as the most disadvantaged socio-demographic area in Victoria. It is not acceptable that Whittington is number 3, and is not acceptable that Corio was number 5 on that particular list. So as a consequence, our plan for the next 4 years has to start addressing that. We cannot just accept that in a prosperous community like Geelong.
Thank you. And thank you, Councillor Aitken, for outlining that. And I think really a nod to the health strategy plan too, really highlighting some of the health issues in pockets right across the city of Greater Geelong that are best served in making this work very deliberate and very targeted. Residents have already been part in shaping this plan through surveys and a representative deliberate panel through July and September last year, but there is still much more input to be had by our broader community. So the draft council plan will be open for community consultation for 4 weeks. So providing an opportunity for everyone to review the plan and share their feedback. So I do encourage the community, please get involved. And that's a council plan.
Councillor Wilkinson, so put that to the vote. Those in favour? Anyone against? No, carried unanimously. The next item is item 2, Tourism Greater Geelong and the Balyang 2025-2029 Strategic Plan. Can I have the mover, Councillor Sullivan? Seconder, Councillor Aitken. Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. As you stated, we're moving here tonight the strategic plan for Tourism Greater Geelong and the Balyang for the next 4 years. pardon me, this has been it's a fantastic plan ahead of us here. I'm very excited as well that it's probably one of the first strategic plans we have that is in the post-COVID era, dare I say. And I see Brandon and Tracy here, and I thank them for their amazing work in this project as well. TGGB is an amazing organisation. Tourism in our region affects over 7,500 businesses, and 7,500 is actually the amount of hours that our volunteers put in as well to our booths, all 63 plus of them. So it's a fantastic collaboration across the entire community. But this strategic plan here outlines our vision, our purpose, and our outcomes and actions for the next 4 years with the industry, with the key pillars being around strategic engagement, industry strengthening, pardon me, sustainable development, and our destination marketing. There's been great input from industry into this plan, very strong contributions from the industry members of TGGB, and also fantastic input from the traditional owners as well. This, as I said, this is a vision strategic plan for everybody. So putting this forward for endorsement for the next 4 years. It's very important to our region with everything going on. Whilst we still are not hitting tourism levels as we were pre-COVID, we still have a higher than average spend, nearly double per tourist to our region. So it's important that we look after those dollars, that we make sure that they are adequately attracted and adequately spread out amongst our community too. So happy to move the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Sullivan. Councillor Aitken.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and it's good to see officers from the city and also from Tourism Greater Geelong in the audience tonight who have passionately helped develop this particular strategy. So thank you, Brendan and Tracy. And if there's any board members online, we thank them as well too. Tourism actually has been one of the most important aspects of our underlying growth and development over the last 30 years in Geelong, and tourism, Greater Geelong, is continuing a great history. It first started with Geelong Otway Tourism, and it has morphed into this particular organisation, and the successes that they have been delivered from a strategic basis. The reality is, for the next 4 years, we're probably going to be challenged more than we ever have in terms of tourism, because one of the most significant pieces of infrastructure that's been missing for the last 30 years is actually being built, and that is the convention centre. It's been a dream of the tourism sector for the last 30 years to actually have a convention centre in Geelong, which will drive the tourism and hospitality sector like nothing else has the capacity to be able to do, and put Geelong on the map in terms of national convention opportunities, and actually showcase that what we know all about Geelong to other people as well too. And that 30-year dream is finally coming to fruition with the convention centre to be open. So the tourism organisation has got a really challenge opportunity in the next 4 years to work with the convention centre and maximise the return that the community has invested in it, because we're talking nearly $300 million of public funds have been invested in that site location, and we have to ensure that it is successful. And the council is going to be challenged as well too. We probably will have to put further funding directly into the convention centre as well too, to attract business events and other things associated for that venue to be successful. And I think the strategy ticks all the boxes, and I thank the organisation for doing that. But and I don't want this to overshadow any other comments that are made, because this organisation is fantastic. But an historic challenge is that it only has about 450 to 500 paid members. This organisation should have thousands of members associated with it because of the work that it does. And every single hospitality and tourism-based operator in the Geelong region and outside of the city of Greater Geelong, because it covers other municipalities as well too, they should all be paid up members of this organisation. It is not just up to local government and state government to funding tourism. The sector needs to take more responsibility themselves, and I hope that the strategy that they have gives you the capacity to try to address the issue about membership, because it's been an historic challenge, and it's sometimes we do have to address it and continue to improve on it. But good luck, and I look forward to the success of the convention centre, because the tourism, Greater Geelong and Balyang will make sure it is a success. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Aitken. Well said. Anyone else wishing to make a comment? Councillor Sullivan in closing.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Aiken for his comments as well. There are indeed hundreds and hundreds of businesses that are members, and a fantastic thing that TGGB did during COVID was make it free for members to sign up as well and get access to information and industry strengthening events and whatnot, and it always goes from strength to strength, and looking forward to seeing even more people join up as well. We improve year on year. Commend the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. So all those in favour? Carried unanimously. So we then move to next item, Balyang Arts Centre, namely the Potato Shed Master Plan. Can I have a mover? Councillor Story. And second, Councillor Wilkinson. Councillor Story.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The purpose of this item is to update Council on the current status and outcomes of the Balyang Arts Centre redevelopment project. Now, it's colloquially known as the Potato Shed, and much loved it is. As background, the Council operates this Arts Centre under a joint user agreement with the Balyang Secondary College and the Melbourne Archdiocese Catholic Schools Limited Corporation. Now, this was signed in 2000 and the term extends to 2030. It was a victim of its own success, and by 2008 there was obviously a need for expansion because of significant user demand. There were subsequent proposals in 2010, 2016, 2017, consistently found that the venue didn't meet contemporary cultural venue standards and was under-equipped. The City of Greater Geelong committed in 2022-23 to develop a comprehensive business case, and tonight we're at the end of that process. And as part of that process, I'd like to commend the officers and the management of the Potato Shed for the hard work they've put into developing this case. It's a very thorough document, it's very carefully drawn up, and it's very sound. Based on the assessment, there were 4 options developed, ranging from business as usual through to several other various staged options. Recommended option is option 3, an expanded and revitalised Balyang Arts Centre in a staged process. This will deliver future-ready performing arts centre for the Balyang region with key features including a new larger capacity theatre to support more performances and larger audiences. This is critical because the area has been identified by touring companies as a place they would like to come to, but they need a certain number for viability. Also enhanced backstage functionality, dressing rooms, technical matters. So Council's endorsement, which I hope we'll give, to the proposed redevelopment and master plan will prioritise the securing of state and federal government investment. This endorsement will also position the project as a regional priority and enhance its eligibility for external funding. I note, Mr Mayor, that no council funding is being sought at this stage.
Good to hear, Councillor Story. Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you. It's also anticipated that this is going to enable the local schools, local organisations to be able to celebrate awards evenings within their own community, in their own backyard, instead of having to come into Geelong. And as Councillor Story has said, it attracts, and knitting back to tourism, it enables larger acts, larger performances to come to the region, to come to the beautiful Balyang region. It's a very exciting project. The architecture itself and the plan itself really maximises the space and accessibility so that the venue isn't a standalone in isolation. So it's an incredible expansion to our already thriving cultural precinct here in the CBD. The idea is that it's part of that, it's part of a suite. It's not an either or, it's an and. So I commend this.
Councillor Wilkinson, any other councillor wishing to speak? If not, Councillor Story, anything in closing?
Just briefly, Mr Mayor, I can confirm as a patron of the Potato Shed that it's an excellent venue and puts on wonderful events, and I commend this resolution to the Council.
With that, all those in favour? That's carried unanimously. The next item is the Ocean Grove Sporting Infrastructure Plan of 2025. Can I have a mover, Councillor Wilkinson, and a seconder, Councillor Story. Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you. This report recommends Council adopts the final Ocean Grove Sporting Infrastructure Plan, and it's really fantastic to get us to this point. I thank officers and all of the clubs and associations involved in this sort of lead up to the this document. As we know, Ocean Grove population is expected to grow by nearly 15% by 2035. We already see that growth. It's projected to surpass 24,000 people. So there are many of these clubs, many of this infrastructure that's already bursting at the seam. We really need to look and plan ahead. So the current version of the plan was created following the previous version from 2010 and considers 3 pillars to guide local sporting infrastructure into the future. So the facility provision to meet community need, efficient operations and sustainability and access and inclusion. So it's really important to note that while sport across the Balyang is incredibly popular, this is actually about outside reserves. So it's just a nod there to basketball and the cult of pickleball. This is not necessarily to address those needs which are also already in an alternative plan. So it's very exciting that the work is actually already underway as far as this plan goes, with Memorial Reserve, with thanks to federal funding with the installation of lights and co-funding with council for the upgrade of much needed change rooms. Down at Colandina, Safety Works, co-funded by the state government and federal contribution for the pavilion, and of course the commitment from the federal government with council combined for soccer at Devlin's Road. So this is an exciting time for sport in Ocean Grove.
Councillor Wilkinson, Councillor Story.
Support what Councillor Wilkinson said, the psychological, physical benefits, social connectedness, general health benefits of sport are incontrovertible, and this will materially advance those parts of our council plan and our preventative health survey results. So I commend the motion to council.
Councillor Story, any other councillor wishing to speak? If not, Councillor Wilkinson to close.
Just another thank you to officers and for community and the sporting associations involved in and the patience that it took to get to this point. I thank you and I commend this infrastructure plan.
Councillor Wilkinson, so all those in favour? Against? No one counts. That's unanimous. Carried. So the next item is the Balyang Par 3 Community Consultation Report. Can I have a mover, Councillor Aiken, and a seconder, Councillor Nelson? Councillor Aiken.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Look, this project has drawn quite a lot of attention before the council group, and in fact, the history is that about 5 years ago, council made a very significant strategic decision where it said that it no longer wanted to manage golf courses in the region, and that included Balyang Sanctuary 3 Par course. And the 3 major drivers behind why council made that high-level strategic decision is that we wanted greater innovation in the delivery of our golf courses in the region. We wanted greater diversity in terms of what was on offer. And we actually wanted to decentralise the management operation of those facilities as well, to hand it back as much as we could to the community. And we've now gone through multiple stages of that with lots of different golf course assets. We've retained ownership of them, importantly, as the council, but we've actually said that we really want to drive opportunities at each of our courses. And the reason why we wanted opportunity is because council's got limited funds to invest and upgrade the courses themselves. And in fact, when in 2023, when we put out for expressions of interest for both Queen's Park and the Balyang Sanctuary, what came back was that Balyang Sanctuary had a unique opportunity to be a family-friendly, fun golf and entertainment-focused opportunity. And I think the compromise that council is presenting tonight is quite reasonable. What council is saying is we still want to adhere to our original strategic objectives in terms of management of our golfing facilities, but we've listened to the community that's been presented before us, and we've actually now made it quite clear that any proposal that comes forward after tonight's decision, if council chooses to continue with the process of potentially leasing the site location out, we will make it that it requires a minimum of 9 holes. And we're stating that in the tender document. So that Disneyland's not going to be built on that particular site because we're putting conditions on it to try to blend and compromise our ambitions as a council in terms of managing the site location, but also the community interest that has been drawn. I respect, we have had a number of members of the community that have said they don't wish change, or they do wish change, but they only want minor modification to the site location. But what this actually does is it gives us an opportunity to be able to receive expressions of interest and actually look what is the best option out there that marries our expectations as the council, the community in terms of the expressions of interest that they've already made during the leasing process, and hopefully we can find a unique outcome for Balyang that addresses the majority of the users that are there now, but also goes back to our original commitment of trying to reinvigorate our golfing assets in the Geelong region, open them up to women, open them up to younger participants, open them up, importantly, for my community, which is the disability community, and there's a real unique opportunity for that to occur at Balyang Sanctuary. So I think this is a reasonable compromise that's been presented before the council tonight to move this forward process, and I encourage all councillors to support that as well too.
Councillor Aiken. Councillor Nelson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Aiken's right in saying that council voted to exit golf back in 2022, I think, from memory. I was the only councillor to vote against that. I think I thought at the time that we needed to stay in golf, but we've exited golf, and I think it's probably a good thing because it means now we can get private funds to spend money on golf. I was down at Balyang last week, and it is a very unique situation down there. Troy was very right, and I thank Troy for his petition. He has gone, but hopefully he's watching online, so I do thank Troy for his petition. And what's unique about it is you can walk around the course with just 2 golf clubs. You can walk around there with your putter and your wedge. You don't need a bag, you don't need a buggy, so that's really good for all sorts of people, whether they be young, old, male or female. You can just walk around and just hit with 2 clubs. That makes it really good. It's only one of 2 in Victoria, the only one in Geelong, as Troy pointed out. It's a great, for that reason, it's a great place to learn the game. But we've really got an opportunity now to, as Councillor Aiken said, create a unique blend of golf. Hopefully it'll be 18 holes plus putting and a driving range. Update the cafe facilities, which are pretty ordinary, and get people from outside golf across the road at Balyang Sanctuary to come there for lunch. You know, there's not many eating options down that part of Geelong. There's just the Barwon Edge, I think, from memory, is the only place to eat down there. It's a beautiful spot down in the river, so hopefully we can get the tenderers to provide a great offering for the Geelong community, and hopefully we can keep the 18 holes. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Nelson. Any other? Councillor Kados.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I support the tender going out. One thing with the Barwon River there, it's our second waterfront, and it's not used by the community. We emphasise Corio Bay here, which is beautiful, but we have a real jewel in the Balyang River, and it's got a lot of recreation, but it lacks some infrastructure at times for the community to sit down, have a coffee, have a meal, buy an ice cream, etc. So by doing this, we preserve the golf course, at least 9 holes as is stated. That's something that, if we can, 18, even better. But 9 holes is guaranteed. And we provide amenity for that community, because if you walk along the river, there's not much to do, but it's magnificent. And it's been an underutilised asset for Geelong for so many years. And hopefully we get some really good tenders come through where we can put a good offering, still have the golf being played, and have a magnificent facility where the club members can enjoy, but also the general public can come along and enjoy that and really activate that entire area along with Balyang Sanctuary. So I support the motion before council tonight.
Councillor Kados. Anyone else? If not, Councillor Aiken to close, please.
Nothing further to add, Mr Mayor.
I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? No one against, so it's unanimous. Carried. Next item is the Wyndham City Council Memorandum of Understanding. Mover, Councillor Aiken. second to Councillor Sullivan. So Councillor Aiken.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor, and I wish to thank the council group for allowing me to actually move this particular motion. This is actually a really significant strategic change for Geelong, and that is we're entering into a formal alliance and memorandum of understanding with the City of Wyndham. When the City of Greater Geelong was created in 1993, everything was focused towards the southwest. Our regional alliance, which still exists today, was called G21, but it didn't actually look at any of having a relationship with the municipality that is to our north of Geelong. And what is so important about this is that Geelong's actually recognising that we do have to have a formal relationship with all our neighbours, and that includes our neighbours to the north as well too. And Wyndham, in fact, is our biggest neighbour. It nearly covers most of the boundary of Geelong in terms of the percentage of metres. It's huge because it goes from Corio Bay all the way into Balyang and Moorabool areas as well to the City of Wyndham. And why it is so important to have a strategic relationship with Wyndham is the community has always told us in Geelong that they don't want to be part of Melbourne. And the best way we can not be part of Melbourne is to have a very strong relationship with the council that's growing fastest to make sure that Geelong is part of Melbourne. And what we can do is entrench our green wedge that exists between Geelong and Wyndham. What we can do is respond that most of the employment growth that's actually going to occur in Geelong over the next 50 years is in the northern parts of Geelong. And what people don't understand as well too is that at the present time, the centre of Geelong geographically is actually in Armstrong Creek, which shocks a lot of people when I explain that to them. But if you actually look at where the population is in Geelong and where the population growth at this point in time is occurring, it's actually around Armstrong Creek. But what is happening with our northern and western growth zones and the Avedon growth corridor, we're actually shifting back to the north. Our centre geographically in terms of our population, with the new 110,000 people over the next 30 years in the north and western growth zone, we will be shifting back to the north. So we have to actually look towards our north again, and we have to work with Wyndham to actually make sure that we take advantage of all of these opportunities and importantly create the employment opportunities that Geelong are going to need. And an interesting fact about Wyndham, Wyndham is predominantly a residential community. It doesn't have the same diversity and employment opportunities that we have in Geelong. And if you look at all of Wyndham's strategic documents, they actually say employment's actually occurring in the south outside of their boundaries in Geelong. So we have to sign up with Wyndham and we have to look forward and we have to choose how we wish to participate with Wyndham. And I'm really pleased that this document means that the Mayor of Wyndham and the Mayor of Geelong will always shake hands and work together to ensure that we take advantage of the significant opportunities that exist between our two councils. We haven't been able to do it for the last 30 years, but we certainly will be able to do it for the next 30 years with this particular MOU. So thank you to everybody involved in it.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Aiken. Excellent summation. Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Aiken. The passion from the council from the north is very well noted. I'll just reiterate a couple of points in that this is a fantastic moment in time that we are strengthening our relationship with the City of Wyndham. Still to this day, it's unfortunate that we lose a lot of our working age population up the highway most mornings, but the headlights coming back the other way are getting stronger and stronger. And with the Avalon Corridor and all the opportunities we have as a shared greater region, it's vitally important that we strengthen these relationships, that we strengthen the transport, that we strengthen our collaboration on so many levels. So I definitely like to thank all the councillors who are involved in this, the CEO and officers as well. It's a collaboration between the entire organisation, and one that transcends individuals or council terms or whatnot. This is a relationship that will be long-standing and will be beneficial to all residents of both communities. So happy to second the motion.
Councillor Sullivan. Any other councillor wishing to speak? If not, Councillor Aiken in closing.
Nothing further to add, but bravo to Geelong and bravo to Wyndham.
So put that to the vote. All those in favour? And no one against, so it's unanimous. We then move to another memorandum of understanding regarding Devonport City Council. Can I have a mover, Councillor Sullivan, and seconder, Councillor Nelson. Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I'm not sure if too many people noticed over the last couple of years that we've strengthened our relationship with the state of Tasmania, and especially the Council of Devonport as well. The Spirit of Tasmania has been a fantastic upgrade to our region, with over 400,000 travellers coming through to our region now annually. It's not just people coming from Tasmania through Geelong, it's Australia coming through Geelong to get through to Tasmania. And it presents fantastic opportunities for us to collaborate on tourism, economic development, showcasing local produce and opportunities in a somewhat captive market. But this has been invaluable for our region, and having this MOU with Devonport, they weren't able to have the same relationship with Melbourne, unfortunately, the way the councils worked up there in the tourism departments and everything from that as well. So this is an extremely valuable opportunity. It's been a fantastic asset to our region, and this expands on that. And even the last 12, 18 months, we've had interesting communications with more councils from Tasmania as well. They all want to be involved, and because they all feel a kinship with Geelong as well and what we offer here. So very happy to be moving this. Again, fantastic work. Thank you to everybody who's been involved in this. It benefits both of our communities and will be a long-standing relationship. Thank you.
Councillor Sullivan, I know you did some excellent work in your time as Mayor to foster this relationship, so well done. Councillor Nelson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just as important as the Wyndham MOU is for jobs and supporting that relationship, this relationship I see as a tourism relationship. So there's a real good, strong golf product down in Tasmania, places like Barnbougle, really great golf courses down there. Obviously the restaurants are really good down there. But one exciting thing for me is the Tassie Devils in 2028. Hopefully that'll get going. I think it starts in 2027, but joining the AFL in 2028. So I think that'll be a great opportunity to work with the Tasmanian government and the local councils down there to get people to and from Melbourne, Geelong, down to Tasmania, into Devonport, and then down to Hobart. All we need is the berthing harbour, whatever it's called, the docking, to fit the new ship, because the ship's ready and sitting in Scotland waiting for that to go ahead. So hopefully the sooner the better. Thanks.
Councillor Nelson. Anyone else? Councillor Aiken.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. I'm biased, but the most important thing that's happened in Geelong over the last 20 years, yes, was the Cats winning premierships in 2007, 2009, 2011 and 2022. But the reality is the next best thing that ever happened in Geelong in the last 20 years was this. We actually pinched the Spirit of Tasmania from Melbourne. It actually was the most significant thing that we've actually been able to achieve. We pinched it, brought it to Geelong, and now it actually is bringing over 300,000 people every year through the Corio Quay, and people would never have done that unless we were able to pinch that boat to come here, well, the two boats to come here. And so, in fact, just as Wyndham took a very long time for us to develop our strategic relationship, this one's been forced upon us because of our success. Nearly every customer survey that uses the Spirit of Tasmania, whether they are a passenger, whether they are a animal friend, because you can take your dogs and cats and other animals on the boat as well too, or whether it's the freighters that have benefited significantly from the Spirit of Tasmania, this relationship now between Geelong and Tasmania is very important for us. When you go to Tassie, they actually talk about the mainland. You know, like we actually think we're all Australians. They actually call themselves Tasmanians, and they talk about the mainland. And what they talk about now is the way they get to the mainland is through Geelong. And it is such a good branding for us in Tasmania, and we've got such good reputation down there because of the Spirit of Tasmania. And by signing an MOU with Devonport, and ultimately that's meaning the whole of Tasmania as a tool. There are so many opportunities that it will open up for Geelong that other areas can't do now, because we are the point of entry onto the mainland for most Tasmanian people, and it is such a good thing to be able to say that, and I look forward to the opportunities that it brings to us. I mean, wouldn't it be great to have dark motor in Geelong, you know, as every second year after it's put down in Hobart? Wouldn't it be great to actually understand that most of the fresh produce, as Councillor Sullivan's spoken about, that comes through to the mainland actually comes via the Spirit of Tasmania. It doesn't come on other ships. It doesn't come on the planes flying up to Tullamarine. It actually comes via Bass Strait through the Spirit of Tasmania. And we should be taking advantage of all that beauty. And in fact, they are now an extremely close neighbour to us. They've just got water between us compared to everybody else.
Thank you, Councillor Aitken. Anyone else wishing to speak? Not. Councillor Sullivan to close.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to build on what Councillor Aitken and Deputy Mayor, ex-Deputy Mayor Nelson said, was at the time. No, you're currently Deputy Mayor, my mistake, sorry, sir. There was so much likeness between our two communities. I mean, all the fresh produce, food, wine, arts, the coastlines, the nature. There's a great kinship down with Tasmania. You know, Councillor Aiken's right. You know, in 2022 we won the premiership, and then we nicked the premiership from Melbourne. So it's all up here from us in Geelong. Thank you.
Councillor Sullivan. So, all those in favour? That's carried unanimously. We then move to the financial performance report, year to date ended 31 March. I have a mover, Councillor Katos, and seconder, Councillor Aitken. So, Councillor Katos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the report before Council here tonight seeks to endorse the financial performance report for up to the end of March of this year. So 3/4 of the year gone. And as part of that, there's a year-to-date operating surplus of 12.2 million. Rates and charges collection are in line with budget forecasts, so that's all tracking nicely. Pleasing to see that the indebtedness ratio is continuing to fall a bit. It was almost 60% when I did the first one of these, down to 54% now, so that's good, as we need to get our debt down. And also there's an operating deficit forecast, unfortunately, of 6.9 million for the full year, but that is based on the aged care decision, which we will be making later this evening. So that's operating deficit is based on remaining, exiting aged care, but that decision will be made later tonight, so I don't want to preempt any of that. Obviously, if we were to continue in aged care, we would have a substantial surplus. So, but that will be decided later on. But as things are tracking fairly normally in this report, so I commend it to Council.
Councillor Katos. Councillor Aitken, anything to clarify?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, look, the three-quarter report, as I call it, for this financial year's hit the table, and there's no new information really than what's been previously documented. What the finances continue to tell us is that in trenches that we're in a very tough financial environment. It is sombre reading. You know, we have publicly disclosed previously that we're only in surplus because of timing associated with financial assistance grants, which is the Commonwealth grant program. It publicly announces for the first time, telling us that we will possibly have an operating deficit depending on whatever decisions Council does make about service delivery, and it talks about the impact that makes. That's now publicly released out there as well too, and I know some people are jovial and excited that we've cut back our capital program. I'm not. Because there's so many projects that have been deferred into either next year or not proceeding again, which is an historic thing that Council has now been doing over the last 3 to 4 years. And when we cut back $165 million from our forward estimates over 3 years, and this year we didn't even wait for the budget process. Our capital underspend is around about about 43 million to budget, because we're spending spending less on our capital, and we're deferring and rephasing projects. And the community's starting to feel out there the struggles because the infrastructure is not at the standard that they've been used to in the past. And it's just reflective that what is important is the council is committed to always have a balanced and break-even position historically, and I hope we can reach that with our proposed budget coming up as well too. But to be able to achieve that, we have to continuously change those levers that we have internally in the budget process to make sure we reach that aim and responsibility. So yes, it's sombre reading. Yes, it's important for the community to have a look at the financial situation that the council is, but it's also important for councillors to make sure that they are responding to the challenges that the communities bring for us, and we get them every single month when we have our council meeting, where the community is actually saying to us, well, why aren't you doing more, or why aren't you getting better at what you can be delivering to the community? And the financial constraints are one of those reasons why we don't, but it is a challenge, and we should be up to that challenge as a council group. Yeah.
So, Aiken, anyone else wishing to speak? If not, Councillor Katos in closing.
Nothing further, Mr Mayor.
So put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. So the next item is Elgin Street, Drysdale, intention to declare a special rate and charge scheme. We have a mover, Councillor Story. A seconder, Councillor Sullivan. Councillor Story.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This report seeks a resolution by Council of its intention to declare a special charge scheme to partially fund the road construction and sealing of Elgin Street, Drysdale. The proposed road construction and sealing works have been developed in response to complaints and a petition received from residents requesting to seal the road. Sealing the road will improve amenity, road safety and limit the impacts from dust, mud and stones scatter to adjacent properties. Further support was demonstrated by the residents in March 2025 this year. I think it's important to note that this document before Council tonight has followed all legislative requirements and all Council policies and has been produced in accordance with the accepted and customary pattern of these schemes. The City will fund 27% of this project and the residents, the owners, 73% if the project is declared. And I'd further like to note, Mr Mayor, that special charges are a key source of revenue for Council's civil infrastructure construction programs, and they enable the timely delivery of community-requested infrastructure that provides a higher level of service than currently available and deliverable with existing capital budgets. So with that, I commend it to the Council.
Councillor Story. Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I commend all the words by Councillor Story. As a fellow councillor who shares responsibility for the township of Drysdale, it's great to be working together on this one. I'm not necessarily a fan of SRCs, but I do see the absolute need for them in our community to share the costs and for the greater good. And clearly so do the residents of Elgin Street, as we do have a majority of support from the properties there as well. Elgin Street is only really parallel just behind High Street, near the centre of Drysdale. So still have unmade roads so close to a town centre, something that does need rectification, as well as the dust issues it provides surrounding streets as well. So happy to support this SRC with the support of the community. Thank you.
Councillor Sullivan. Anyone else wishing to speak? If not, back to you, Councillor Story, to close.
Nothing further to add, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Story. So put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Then we have an amendment relating to the Wathaurong Aboriginal Cooperative Hub redevelopment in Nor Lane. Can I have a mover, Councillor Katos, and a seconder, Councillor Aiken. Councillor Katos.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the purpose of this report before councillors this evening is to consider submissions for planning scheme amendment, C465 GGEE, and also the accompanying planning permit, so that the process is being run concurrently. There were 4 submissions which no one was not supportive, and they were basically asking for some tweaks to it, but there was no one not in support of this. So basically what the amendment proposed to do is to rezone the land at 60 to 62 Morgan Street. It was purchased by the Watherong in the mid-80s, and there's a bit of an anomaly there. It's zoned public park and recreation, which it shouldn't be. So it's now going to be zoned a special use zone, and then there will be a function centre built on that land with buildings works associated with the redevelopment, also car parking, and part of being able to facilitate, be able to complete this project, there's some council land that is surplus to our public open space needs at 43 the Boulevard. So council had previously resolved to sell this land, which will be done as part in the future. It's about 5,000 square metres of land, and as I said, it's surplus to council's open space needs in that area. So it's good to sell that so the Watherong can build their function centre and also consolidate. There's sort of a bit of stuff here, there and everywhere. It starts to put everything together on the one site. So I'm more than happy to commend this motion and send it off to the Planning Minister seeking their approval for the amendment and for the planning permit.
Councillor Kados. Councillor Aitken.
Mr Mayor, it's not just a planning process. This is actually really significant for our Indigenous community in Geelong, and that's what's driven all the work that has been undertaken by this. Watherong Aboriginal Cooperative have got a $40 to $50 million vision for this particular site. And when they first came to council to talk about their vision, we actually learnt there were significant impediments from then being able to deliver that vision. And those impediments included, we actually found out that their existing site location is actually on land which is zoned for public use. We also found out that they needed to be able to build greater car parking capacity if they are going to have a new $50 million facility at that site location as well too. And I commend the officers because this is actually really a complex piece of work that's been undertaken because they've had to work with Vic Roads, they've had to work with Bar and Water, they've had to work with the Corangamite Catchment Authority, they've had to work with multiple other agencies to be able to help Watherong to be able to deliver their dream and ambition on that particular site location. Because essentially what this amendment is attempting to do is consolidate all of those sites onto one new zoning, so it will give the capacity for Watherong to be able to build their flagship, and it really is amazing what their vision is at that site location. And it will, I mean, people don't understand that Geelong as a local government authority has the largest number of people that identify as Aboriginal in Victoria, the largest number. And the organisation that actually services that community is actually Watherong Co-op, and they provide significant amount of cultural safe place for that community. They provide significant mental health and physical health services to our Indigenous population. And this new facility that they're going to build on that site will be a showcase not just in Geelong but for Victoria about how a Aboriginal and Indigenous cooperative can actually build infrastructure that broadens and enhances the cultural awareness of our Indigenous population, but importantly supports the Indigenous population in Geelong as well too. So I'm extremely pleased that this has finally come back to council in this way. I think the Minister will fast track it if we approve it tonight as well too, because of the level of support there is for this project in the broader political community as well too at our state and federal colleagues. But ultimately the beneficiaries of this is going to be our Indigenous population in Geelong, and that's something we should be all aiming for, to reflect reconciliation and to reflect a relationship that we should have with our First Nations people in Geelong.
Councillor Aitken. Anyone else wishing to speak? Councillor Sinclair.
I would like to echo Councillor Aitken's sentiments, particularly around the amazing work that Watherong Co-op undertake in Geelong for First Nations people around community care, healthcare, family violence care, family support, but also for the broader community and non-Indigenous Australians with their cultural education and constantly welcoming us to be part of the conversation. I've been to many events at Watherong at the Co-op now and have seen their plans, and it's just really inspiring and really exciting. the one thing, in the spirit of Reconciliation Week and, truth-telling though, I do feel like I need to call out that, yes, while this is council land, it is also and always has been Wadawurrung land. And instead of selling this, maybe this council group might like to consider a gift in kind or contribution of the land to the development rather than selling an asset. But other than that, I'm really happy to support this amendment.
Councillor Sinclair, anyone else wishing to speak? If not, we go back to Councillor Katos to close.
Nothing further, Mr Mayor.
All right, so we move that to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. The next item is item 11, the proposed road discontinuance and transfer an unmade road adjoining 137167 Cox Road, Nor Lane. Can I have a mover, Councillor Aiken, a seconder, Councillor Katos. Councillor Aiken.
Look, this one's come before council before, so this is the end of the formal process. We sought for public submissions in terms of the statutory process that council's undertaking for this particular land. We received one submission. That one submission was basically in favour of the proposal, and ultimately it's just cleaning up a site opportunity at the old Norlane High School site location, and it will actually increase the number of housing opportunities within that particular development. And as we know, housing is the most significant issue we've got in our community, and anything that actually increases the number of roofs that can be developed in the Geelong region should be encouraged, and this administrative process supports that occurring.
Councillor Aiken. Councillor Katos.
Yes, as Councillor Aiken said, this sort of cleans up. There was only one submission received and they supported it, the transfer of this land. It was intended to be a road when the property was first originally subdivided. It's 5th of September 1969 this dates back to. So Bates Street was never constructed. The purchaser, when they purchased the land, have actually paid for this land. So this cleans up that anomaly on the title and transfers the land to there. And as Councillor Aiken said, increasing housing opportunities in the northern suburbs there and providing quite a few housing lots there for families and people in the northern suburbs.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Katos. Anyone else wishing to speak? If not, Councillor Aiken in closing.
Yeah, look, thank you. So this is the last impediment to housing being developed on the old Norlane site. It's laid derelict for more than 15 years now. Hopefully this means with the clean-up of this particular planning and old road reservation, the developer can get on with the process of actually delivering more housing stock at that site location.
Councillor Aiken. So put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. So the next item is the proposed sale of land, the former sale yards at 125 Whittle Street, North Geelong. Have a mover, Councillor Katos. A seconder, Councillor Aiken. Councillor Katos.
Mr Mayor, this proposal before the councillors tonight seeks essentially to close the truck wash and put the site there, the old sale yard site, out for community consultation to sell the site. It's been going on for quite a while, this issue with the sale yards, much like the golf club did for many years. You can see opposite on the other side of Thompson's Road, there's a vibrant community now that's on 9 of the holes of the golf course, and we still have a 9-hole golf course near this. But this resolves to go out to, basically the proposal is there's 2 sections of the land. There's the section that is developable and the section to the north is there for drainage. Curiously, there's a section to the south, which is on the sale yard site, that we don't own and the state government owns. And seeing as we're, putting this out for public consultation regarding selling, it might be an opportunity also to approach the state government to see if they wish to sell that parcel of land as well, because it would be logical to do it at the same time and would maximise the value for both the City of Greater Geelong and the state government. Of course, if the state government were to seek that was if that parcel of land was surplus to their requirements, and I can't see what they would want it for, to be perfectly honest, so it might be a good idea to approach the state government and see if they wish to do that. But yeah, there will be an area of, as I said, it's about 1.7 hectares, which will be for drainage. It's intended to sell the land as is, so which is important. So I think obviously it's been used as a sale yards for many years. So and also the truck wash facility will be closed, and 3 months' notice will be given with that. At the moment, that truck wash runs nearly a $230,000 loss per year. So every truck that's washed there is subsidised to the tune of over $500 by the ratepayer. So I think that that's a good outcome. That's putting money back into the city coffers, which can be used for other purposes. But look, I'm really supportive of this going out for public consultation. I encourage everyone to have their say. But we could see something really good developed here, much like has happened on the old, as I mentioned, the old golf course. That was a long-standing issue, and so is this. And I'd like to see it, obviously the public have their say, but come to a closure and see some really good housing in the future put on that land.
Councillor Katos. Councillor Aitken.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Look, I think this site should be called Saga Yards instead of Sale Yards, because it's been a saga for the previous, he was the administrator that was appointed, and then he became a continuous monitor, and that Peter Dorling was the first person that made the decision that they were going to close the sale yards, and ever since then it's actually been a saga for everybody associated with it. So thank you, former administrator and monitor Dorling, for continuing to create this saga for us after your initial decision. What is important is the city has got a major report that's coming to it soon, hopefully, associated with a future rural and information exchange opportunity. We engaged G21 agricultural consultants to actually bring a report back to council to actually talk about our future relationships with our rural community. I look forward to that report coming to us soon. That report should also talk about the biosecurity issues associated, that if we don't have truck washers for our abattoirs and other animal facilities that operate in Geelong, it will cause a biosecurity issue if there is an outbreak of anthrax or other diseases that we now know happen. So hopefully that report actually will address that there is a need for a replacement of a truck wash. The reality is where it is at that site location is not suitable, and it's not accessible, and that's why its usage has dropped significantly, because it was associated with the sale yards. But another sort of downer I put on this is that I actually think our Geelong Sale Yards precinct plan is going to reduce the value of the site location, because there's so many restrictions that precinct plan's putting on the sale. I am hesitant to believe that we'll maximise the price that we can get for selling the site location. The dream has always been, and it's quite fascinating when it first came to council, was this was right next to North Geelong railway station. If there was anywhere in Geelong where we should have medium to high density housing development, it should be at that site, because we're taking industrial land and commercial land and turning into residential. And Geelong West and Highton and South Geelong are existing residential areas that have been put under pressure from medium to high density development. This was the golden goose in Geelong, where you could actually take industrial and commercial land and turn it into residential property. And that's why there are height limits of 10 stories at that site location, because it's right next to North Geelong railway station. And so we should be building our concentration of meeting housing at that site location. And we should have sold this land a lot quicker so that it could crystallise those housing opportunities at that site location as well too. But I fear that the precinct plan may put restrictions on it, and I'm also concerned that we should be talking to the state government to actually say they should be selling their land that's part of the sale yards area as well too. We shouldn't be just doing our bit in isolation. I hope the CEO or the executive director of that particular area, Troy Edwards, actually does engage with the state government to actually say there's an opportunity here for you guys as well too. If you want to sell your land that's adjacent to it, change the zoning of it, you're welcome to do that. We'll go through the proper processes as a council to do that. But there's a real great opportunity for Geelong to actually build a unique community at that site location, Mr Mayor.
So, Aiken, any other councillor wishing to speak? If not, Councillor Katos to close.
Nothing further, Mr Mayor.
So put that to the vote. Those in favour? So unanimous. The next item is procurement policy. Have a mover, Councillor Katos. Moves, Councillor Story, second. Councillor Katos.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So this report before Council recommends the third version of our procurement policy be adopted from the 1st of July this year to improve transparency, accountability and value for money when procuring goods and services and works. A few of the things with it, there's the threshold for public tenders has been reduced from $500,000 to $300,000, which gives greater accountability. And one thing I did like was, particularly with procurement and tendering, often they go for the lowest price. So you're buying a vehicle or a piece of capital equipment, but we're now starting to look at the whole of life of that asset, which I think is a good thing, because just because something's cheaper to buy doesn't mean it's cheaper to run and maintain over 10 years. So it's a good thing that is being looked at as part of this procurement policy. Because in previous days I used to sell Caterpillar equipment, and we were the dearest on the market, but very good quality, but had very good maintenance and servicing costs. So if you look at the life size of an asset, over a 10-year period, for example, they were cheaper. So not that I'm giving a plug for Caterpillar, it's just an example. I no longer work there, so that's been a few years now. But it's just an example of where just because something's a piece of equipment's the cheapest option doesn't necessarily mean it's the best option over the life of that asset. Whether it's whether it's a photocopier, whether it's a vehicle or a piece of capital equipment. So, and probably, so we still have council oversight for anything of more than $2 million. So if there's anything of $2 million or up, it has to come to council for decision, so which is good. But overall, look at some updated policy, and I like that we're starting to look at these whole life things and look at things more holistically. And yeah, I'm happy to commend the procurement policy to the chamber.
Thank you, Councillor Katos. Councillor Story.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I endorse everything my colleague has said and note that we're adhering to requirements under the Local Government Act, and that the aim of this document is to create a compliant, straightforward and effective document for procuring goods, works and services across all city service areas. And I'd just like to add to Councillor Katos's life experience in the heavy industry world. My dear late mother-in-law always said, the cheapest is the dearest and the dearest is the cheapest.
Again, that. Any other councillor wishing to speak? If not, Councillor Katos in closing.
Nothing further, Mr Mayor.
So put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Now, Council, next item is the Council Enterprise Risk Management Policy. Can I have a mover, Councillor Burson to move, Councillor Story second. Councillor Burson.
This report recommends that the Council adopts the updated Enterprise Risk Management Policy, which is version 08. The new policy, which replaces the previous management level version, has now been formally adopted as the Council policy, which reflects a stronger commitment to enterprise-wide risk management, led by the CEO and supported by all levels of the organisation. Key features of the updated policy include being in alignment with the ASNZ ISO, the International Standard for Risk Management, 7 guiding principles that shape the city's risk culture, systems and processes, clearly defined roles and responsibilities, including those of the Council, Audit and Risk Committee and internal and external auditors, endorsement by the Executive Leadership Team and approval by the Audit and Risk Committee prior to the Council's adoption. And the policy aims to embed a culture of risk awareness and resilience, ensuring that strategic and operational risks are managed effectively to support the City's objectives and community outcomes.
Councillor Burson, Councillor Story.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I don't think I can improve on my colleagues' words. Support them.
Thank you. Any other councillor wishing to speak? If not, Councillor Burson, anything further in closing?
Nothing further.
Nothing further. So put that to the vote. Those in favour? Let's see, unanimous. They're carried. The next item is the Audit and Risk Committee Charter. Can I have a mover, Councillor Sullivan, and second, Councillor Nelson. Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. What we have here is an update to the Audit and Risk Committee Charter. The Audit and Risk, or ARC, is arguably our most important committee on council, in charge of our governance principles, financial performance reporting, fraud and risk management. This is an update around areas about talking how we relate with the internal auditor, the timings of appointment of our members, as well as the communications between the committee and council around annual reporting. So a slight update, all in accordance with best practice, and happy to move the report.
Councillor Sullivan, Councillor Nelson.
Nothing further, Mr Mayor.
Yep, councillor wishing to speak. If not, Councillor Nelson, anything else? Sullivan, anything else in closing?
Nothing further, sir.
So put that to the vote. Those in favour? That's carried unanimously. The next item is the adoption of the council's internal resolution procedure. Mover, Councillor Sullivan. Seconder, Councillor Nelson. So Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As you stated, what we have here is adoption of council internal resolution procedures. As best practice in every workplace, it's good to have good, effective internal resolution procedures in place. We, at this level of government, do like to hold ourselves to a high standard, so we do have this in adherence to the model of councillor code of conduct that we have implemented. That therefore is the overarching document of this resolution one here. So it's about structuring the process, having all steps there, having everything well defined, so that we can all operate to the highest capacity, to the best performance, to serve our community and give them the great leadership and decision making that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sullivan. Councillor Nelson.
Not much further other than to say, Mr Mayor, the procedure was developed using a template from Maddox Lawyers, who a lot of councils use, which provides a structured conciliation process, supports the mechanisms for councillors, and provides for good record keeping for better outcomes and agreements. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Sullivan. Any other councillor wishing to speak? If not, Councillor Sullivan in closing.
Nothing further, Mr Mayor.
Nothing further. So put that to the vote. Those in favour? No one against, so that's carried unanimously. Next item is the review of the instrument of delegation regarding the council to CEO. Have a mover, Councillor Katos. Seconder, Councillor Nelson. So Councillor Katos.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So this item before us this evening is reviewing the instrument of delegation to the CEO, and this delegation has to be reviewed within 12 months of a general election, which is what we are doing here today. So council, in making decisions, can make it in two ways, as we are here now tonight, by passing resolutions or by delegating authority to council officers. And that's what this seeks to do, to delegate authority to the CEO. And if you read through the instrument of delegation, this obviously there's certain things the CEO can't do, but they're listed there. But if we didn't delegate authority, we would be here till all hours of the... we would be meeting every day to pass things, and the council needs to go about its business, needs to make decisions in a timely manner, and that's why we do this through delegation. And so I'm happy to support this motion before the chamber this evening.
Councillor Katos. Councillor Nelson.
Nothing further, Mr Mayor.
Any other councillor wishing to speak? Councillor Aitken.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Look, I support the delegation, but it's primarily because the Mayor's committed to request that we establish a register of decisions made under delegation, and And I think that's really important. The reality is that $2 million is a significant amount of money. Yes, that's what's been in place for the last few years as well too. But I think we do have to have some oversight and some visibility as councillors over these decisions that are being made under delegation. I mean, ultimately what the council's group has discussed is we really do want to foster greater accountability and also build trust. And the way we can do that is actually having a monthly register, and the Mayor's committed to work with the CEO to develop a threshold of what actually goes onto that register. So it doesn't mean every single decision, because there's significant decisions that are made that on a daily basis, but it will be important, and it should give the community confidence that ourselves as councillors, that we wish to provide as much capacity for the organisation and the CEO to fulfil the responsibilities as quickly and diligently as possible, but we're also fulfilling our responsibilities as councillors to make sure that we have visibility and accessibility over significant decisions that are made. So I look forward to the establishment of that register and the slight expansion of the delegations that this recommendation does do in terms of practical things like insurance. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Aiken. Any other councillor wishing to speak? If not, Councillor Katos to close.
No, nothing further, Mr Mayor.
So put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. The next item is the Greater Geelong City Council General Election Report of 2024. Councillor Sinclair to move, Councillor Story to second. Councillor Sinclair.
So this report recommends that Council note the VC's report on the conduct of the 2024 general election, which was held via postal voting last October and was submitted to the CEO on the 14th of April 2025. It provides a comprehensive overview of the election process in accordance with the Local Government Act and regulations. It includes certified records of ballot papers, declarations, printed, issued, used, spoiled and returned. And it's got a number of statistics throughout the document. Interesting for Geelong that we have slightly higher participation and turnout than the rest of Victoria at 84% versus 83% for participation and 83.1% versus 81.6% for turnout. So good work, Greater City of Geelong. It's the first election conducted under changes by the Local Government Amendment Act in 2024, which brought some changes to the close of the date of the roll and extending the caretaker period due to revised nomination dates. It's also the first election that we've had since the redistribution. So the Local Government Act in 2020 changed the structure of all councils in Victoria from multi-member wards to single councillor member wards, and Geelong's redistribution happened at the conclusion of the last term. So this is the first election where we've seen single councillor wards. There's no kind of analysis in this report that talks about whether that's good for diversity, how that ward structure has impacted election results. So I hope that's something that the state government continues to look at as part of their ongoing assessment of the 2020 reforms.
Councillor Sinclair. Councillor Story.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Not much to add to that, except that the democratic process is clearly alive and well in the City of Greater Geelong.
Councillor Story. Any other councillor wishing to add any comment? Councillor Aiken.
Mr Mayor, look, the report's actually pretty bread and butter. You know, like it sort of just talks about the basics about the election and the processes and all that. I personally was disappointed that it didn't look at some of the underlying issues that came out. And one of the most significant one I actually found was that changing from the automatic registration of non-residents from the state roll to the local roll actually meant that you had to do it yourself. And we actually, an example that I share with the community is that traditionally I would have over 1,000 to 2,000 non-resident voters during a local government election. I had 148. So there is an issue, and I hope other councils are bringing it towards the attention of the state government and the VEC as well too, that non-resident voters are not registering voluntarily, and they have just as much right to have influencing of what's happening during the election process as what people who actually live and are on the federal roll. Apparently council can play a significant more role in that we can advertise more, we can go out a lot earlier to try to encourage non-resident voters, and we can actually do that process now if our governance wants to pick it up as a significant issue now. I think it's one of the failings that came out of the most recent election, and that was that the non-resident registrations were the lowest they ever were. And in fact, it's quite fascinating, the Commission of Inquiry that developed the boundaries in Geelong actually used the non-resident voter numbers and the core numbers. And then when the electoral roll was actually signed off by the CEO and the VEC, nearly every ward had significantly less numbers in it than what was actually proposed under the Commission of Inquiry numbers that were established by the VEC. So we wouldn't be alone in that. That's a statewide issue, and I think we should be taking a bit of a leadership role in that and trying to encourage non-residents to register now and actually understand that you are being disenfranchised under the current system where unless you know to do it, you don't know to do it. That's the issue, and we've just come from the election last year and we now know the evidence is there because of that. Yeah.
It's there, Councillor Aiken. Anyone else wishing to make a comment? Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and I think of the comments of the councillors before me. I will build on what Councillor Sinclair mentioned there about that the report unfortunately wasn't able to include outcomes on demographic and gender parity within the report as an outcome from the council elections. I mention this because prior to the redistribution and the redoing of the ward structure, we made submissions and conversations as councillors and as an organisation to the state government about what the ward structure may or may not look like. And a large concern was that going back to single-member ward structures was prohibitive to many members of our community. It was a barrier of entry and may not have had the desired outcomes that the state government and the council itself has looked for. I mention this because we as an organisation were a signatory to the Victorian Government's 50-50 target by 2025, meaning last election. That is, I question us signing up to government programs and targets when they implement structures which are actively recognised as prohibitive to reaching those targets. So I just want that on the record. Thank you.
Councillor Sullivan. So anyone else wishing to speak? Councillor Kados.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I agree with Councillor Aiken's point, particularly around non-resident voters. I remember the first time I ran for Deakin Ward back in 2008. There was over probably about 2,000 to 2,500 non-resident voters. When I did, I remember, did send letters to them. I think it was 128 letters. So I think a lot of those landlords and property owners would have been quite surprised thinking, where's my ballot? I think a lot of them wouldn't have realised that they had to register, which I think is a problem. And these essentially now you have your situation where you're having taxation without representation. You're not having the ability to vote on council because I reckon most people just didn't know. They had no idea the change had been made. It flew under the radar. And unfortunately, that was the decision that was made. And also the structures have been curious. We had ward-based councillors. That was no good. It was terrible. We went to the same government, then sent us to multi-councillor ward, and now we're back to single councillor. But I think politics is obviously driving a lot of these decisions. Perhaps they weren't happy with some of the people that were being elected in multi-councillor wards, and perhaps they're not. Perhaps they feel that landlords and non-resident owners perhaps vote a particular way. So I can only speculate. But I do agree with Councillor Aiken that we need to have all of those people be made aware that they need to register to have their say in democracy in the City of Greater Geelong.
Councillor Katos. Anyone else wishing to speak? If not, Councillor Sinclair. Anything else in closing?
Nothing further, thank you.
All right, thank you. So put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Planning authorisation, council to staff. I have a mover, Councillor Katos. Councillor Sullivan to second. Councillor Katos.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, from time to time, council officers need to be appointed under certain acts, and this appointment's under the Planning and Environment Act, and I congratulate Naomi Khan on being appointed this time round. Obviously, look, they've got specific powers within an act, and that power has to be delegated to those officers. So hence, most meetings or the majority of meetings we have, we're always giving some delegation of power.
Councillor Katos. Councillor Sullivan.
Nothing further to add, sir.
Any other councillor wishing to speak? If not, Councillor Katos. Anything in closing?
Nothing further, Mr Mayor.
So put that to the vote. Those in favour? That's carried unanimously. The next item, revocation of council policies. Mover, Councillor Cadwell. Seconder, Councillor Burson. Councillor Cadwell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, this item really is purely administrative. It's a change to update policies, the policies that are listed there, which have been superseded. The Sustainable Building Council policy was approved in June 2017 to guide council's management of social and financial and environmental aspects of council's buildings. It's been superseded by the current Sustainable Building Management Policy. And similarly, the delegations policy was approved in January 2019 to guide the delegations of council's authority with maximum efficiency and financial stewardship for our community. This has been superseded by the current delegations management policy. Thank you.
Councillor Cadwell. Councillor Burson. Anything further to add?
Nothing to add.
Any other councillor wishing to speak? If not, Councillor Cadwell. Anything in closing? So put that to the vote. Those in favour? That's carried unanimously. That if we now can move to section 3, record of informal meetings of councillors. May I please have a mover and a seconder for the record of informal meetings? Councillor Sullivan and Councillor Nelson. Second, Councillor Sullivan.
Okay, sir. Nothing to add.
Councillor Nelson.
Yes.
Anyone else wishing to speak? If not, move that to the vote. Those in favour? And no one against. That then concludes the public component of the meeting. We now move to the confidential section. May I have someone please move and second to consider the item 4.1 in confidential. Councillor Sullivan to move, Councillor Nelson. All those in favour? It's unanimous. The next item, 4.2, procurement policy, Info Pathways contract. May I have a mover there, Councillor Katos, a seconder, Councillor Cadwell. Anyone wishing to speak on that? No. All those in favour? That's unanimous. The next item is the Animal Pound Service to move into confidential. May I have a mover for that, Councillor Katos, and Councillor Nelson to second. Anyone wishing to speak? If not, we put it to the vote. All those in favour? No one against, so that's carried. Then 4.4, the external membership, Balyang Arts Centre. Likewise, have a mover, Councillor Story, and Councillor Wilkinson to second. Any other councillor wishing to speak? If not, I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour? Anyone against? No, that's carried unanimously. Then the Audit and Risk Committee March meeting minutes and the mid-year activity report. Can I have a mover, Councillor Nelson, and a second, Councillor Sullivan? Any other councillor wishing to speak? If not, I put it to the vote. All those in favour? No one against, so carried unanimously. So that concludes all items for consideration this evening in the public forum. I now call the meeting closed.
Mr. Mayor,
I'd like to... Sorry,
can we just clarify, please? So for the item 4.1, that wasn't a unanimous vote to pull it into confidential.
Sorry?
That was not, for item 4.1, if the minutes could reflect, that wasn't a unanimous vote for confidential, in confidential?
Not?
No.
Was it not?
No. So if the minutes could just reflect.
It was a majority vote, was it? My apology, I didn't see the hands going up.
Yeah, thank you.
Would it be wise to ask for a division in that case?
Right, we'll call it for a division then. So let's go back to 4.1 just for clarity. That was moved by Councillor Sullivan and seconded by Councillor Nelson. And I invited anyone wishing to speak. And if not, then I put it to the vote. So those in favour of moving this matter to be considered confidential? Those against?
Mr Mayor, procedural point of order. I don't believe that the voting that just undertook then was the same that happened at the time it was originally moved, 4.1. Could I suggest that we park this and review the tape, because we do have a live recording of this meeting here for the first time that vote was taken, which should be the official vote.
It was moved by a majority in the second instance anyway.
Indeed.
Yeah. So it's taken to have been moved to confidential on a majority vote. Okay? So back to the concluding remarks. Thank you everyone for attending, and both virtual and those in the gallery, good evening. So we will now just maybe take a pause while we exit the gallery, and then we'll reconvene in, say, 5 minutes. That was just voted to be considered in confidential.